So January 9th, 2025, I'm reviewing, just the reading today was Genesis 25, starting at verse 27, going through all the way through through chapter 28, verse 5. We get to hear about Jacob being crafty and getting the blessing, or stealing the firstborn rights, right? So this is the 9th. And Esau just giving it up freely, and we look ahead into Hebrews, and in Hebrews, it refers to Jacob or Esau as being godless, immoral, even comparing him to the sexual immoral. And he did that for a little bit of food. So that was not very good. And it's explained that it's not very good. And it's not that clear by reading this, but when we take that and apply it to Hebrews and listen to or read what Hebrews says, how bad that really was, we get more from that. And this would have been something that the Jews would have understood through their study and through what they would have gone through. They had a process of teaching these scriptures and this Old Testament, of asking these questions, and I'll say more about that in a little bit. But that was a pretty flippant thing to have done, is to sell his birthright to Jacob for a little bit of food, just to fill his stomach. And Jacob was real crafty about it, and he knew that he could do that. But we have that story, and we see more of it. And then we see a couple of times where God tells Isaac that he's blessed, and he specifically says that he blessed Abraham because of Abraham's obedience to the requirements, commands, and decrees and instructions, and that's what caused Abraham to be blessed. We see later on again in Hebrews, and Hebrews is a book that teaches the Old Testament. It takes the Old Testament teachings that the Jews would have understood, and then compares that with the message of Jesus, and that Jesus is the Messiah, and how that applies and changes with Jesus. But so I like to look at Hebrews to see kind of what did that mean, because it's not so clear to me, some of the stuff. We get Abimelech again. We get where Isaac goes to Abimelech, and then when he goes there, he does the same thing his dad does, and says, yeah, my wife, no, she's not my wife, she's my sister, because he's afraid of what they'll do to her. So again, we have that same thing, and we see Abimelech catch him in it and say, hey, why'd you do that? Don't do that. Be peaceful. That's not good. All right, nobody else touch this man. He's afraid of us. Don't touch him. Don't touch him. So I think that's interesting, and see how that goes. There was 3 times where there was a lie about a wife being a sister, twice by Abraham, and now once by Isaac here. Don't understand. There's more to that. Again, this is one of those things. Ask yourself why. Wrestle with that. It's something I go back to every once in a while, and there's things in the Old Testament, especially in Genesis. Why is that? That's not a right thing to do. It's not good to do that. What came of that? Or why is that ordered like that? They were imperfect. Why is it laid out like this? Then we have conflict over water rights. We see where Isaac is well blessed, and Abimelech says, "Look, you've been here too long. You came because of a famine, drought, but go, leave us. We can't compete with you. We want to have peace, and we don't want to have a fight with you. We can't win." So he sent him away, and they fill wells, and there's something to do with wells, and I don't, again, what with these wells? Why God are you talking about wells? And these wells, what's the significance of them documenting and telling us that they filled in the wells, and then that Isaac dug 2 more wells, that 4 altogether, dug 4, 2 of which went to Abimelech's people, and 2 of which Isaac claimed for himself. So what's the significance of the wells? And one of those wells, actually, they found right directly the same day as a peace treaty with Abimelech. Why Abimelech? Why is Abimelech so prevalent in this? But Abimelech is, but he's peaceful, and he seems to be good, and he treats Abraham and Isaac both very well. And why is that? Anyway, those are good questions, and I don't have any answers for it. Then we have Esau marrying the two wives, foreign wives, and causing the problems. Then we see where, again, this is another one that I wrestle with, that Rebecca and Jacob, they conspire and they lie and they use trickery, which seems so wrong, to get this blessing. And I always thought that well, he had it to him anyway. Jacob had that blessing coming to him because of Esau selling him the birthright. But no, he had already had the birthright. That was different. That was the inheritance. That was that. Not the blessing. The blessing was separate. But again, they used trickery to get it. And Isaac stood on that and said, no, I've already given it. It was given to him. It was presented to him by trickery, but he gave that blessing. And it was a very strong and powerful blessing. It was well thought out. And we see how well thought out that blessing was when we see the blessing that he gave Esau. It was not a very nice blessing because he'd already given everything that he could give to Isaac. And there's something to that. And what is it? What we bless on earth was blessed in heaven. What we curse on earth is cursed in heaven. That's something that, I think that's in Matthew, or I don't know that, but that's something to consider anyway. Something else to just kind of ponder and think about. We have the ability to bless. We have that power to bless. Isaac had that power then to bless, and it was a very, very specific blessing, and it couldn't be taken back. It was blessed and given, even though it was obtained by trickery. It was a blessing given, and we see where where God does fulfill that as we read. It's fulfilled. Anyway, that's something that we should wrestle with and think and ask God for, not just accept it. I've read over it a number of times where I've just accepted it, but in the Jewish culture, it's meant to be wrestled with. It's meant to be thought about and contemplated and ask God for this. So this is kind of neat anyway. Then we get to see where Isaac conspires to kill Jacob, and again where Rebecca hears about it and sort of tricks Isaac. It's because I think that's a real thing. They wanted to send Isaac back to Rebecca's family to get wives, and we see all that happens there. We'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow, but very interesting things. Isaac is saved, and he's sent away. Something to just, again, it's thought-provoking, and it's meant to be thought-provoking. Why is good not necessarily bad? And with God that's very black and white about things, why is this presented in such a way? Why? What does it represent? And again, this is very specific that we know about it and why we know about it. It's there for a reason. And it was the Old Testament was Jewish tradition, culture, and they taught on this. This is the basic for a lot of things. I'm still wrestling.